Alright, that should be as it should be. But let me just adjust this, because the number of times that I've had people comment about me sounding too quiet, so I figure it's better for me to sound too loud than too quiet at this point. So let's see how that does. Also, I need to adjust the green screen because that's not quite how it should be. Right. Why is that still not quite as it should be? I don't know. That's pretty close to how it should be. Hello to both Freesy and Talisman. Talismandy? Talismandy? Possibly Talismandy. Alright, let me just press all the buttons that I need to press. Somehow you still sound a bit quiet to me if I listen without my compressor on. Alright, let's see what else we can do about that. Filters. We don't want noise suppression. So I wonder if me turning off the noise suppression will help. As always, I am always soft-spoken. I'm Elliot, you know me well. This is true. This is very true. Alright, so I've turned off noise suppression. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the, as is tradition at this point, pre-show me trying to sort out tech issues section of the stream, which is always fun for everyone. Yes, welcome. We are going to be playing some Talisman Digital 5th edition for 2 cool reasons. Also, can anyone confirm whether or not I can be heard? Alright. That would be cool if you could, because there's all sorts of crazy filters that I can... There's a loud and clear. Cool. You can be heard fine. Alright, cool. Awesome. That is better than every other video. I feel like I get comments saying, we can't hear you, please speak up. So to be actually able to be heard is very good. Alright, so I need to press some more buttons because I need to let everyone know that I'm live. Not everyone's as cool as not everyone is as cool as everyone right now in chat. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Alright. That's done. Buffer. Customize for each network. Cool. Sorted. Yeah, we're cool. Gaslighting. We can't hear him. Yes, we can. Hey, there'll be no gaslighting on the official Nomad Games developer stream. I'll have you know. I'm hard of hearing, so if I can hear you today, you're good. Cool. Awesome. Like I said, I think I've just had so many comments about it over the years that now I'm like, I need to get it on. Alright, I think that's everything that I need to push. So, I am going to press the final button, which is the recording button. So, Welcome everyone who is tuning in live and everyone that is watching this after the fact. If you're cool enough to tune in live, I've already said you're cool, but you won't see that because that's in the pre-show bit. Yes, we're going to be playing some Talisman Digital 5th Edition because it's a cool game and I want to show you all how cool it is. I think I'm going to have a bit of a chill stream. Not today. There you go. See, I've put in the effort to make sure that you can all hear me because I want to talk about this game. I want to talk about nonsense and I want to just hang out and have a chill time, and I don't want to be stressed that you all can't hear me. So yes, today we're going to be playing some Talisman Digital 5th Edition from us here at Nomad Games. For anyone that doesn't know, and if you don't know, then I'm failing in my job as a marketing person. But right now it's the Steam Spring Sale, so you can get a discount on Talisman Digital 5th Edition, and it's well worth picking up because we've already released the Reaper Classic Expansion, so that's the first 4th edition remade expansion, and we've literally yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I'm losing track of the days, very recently we announced the Frostmarch Classic Expansion, so that's going to be our second remastered expansion. Just like with the Reaper, if you already own the Frostmarch, however you own it, whether you own it on mobile or PC, some platforms have different restrictions, so that's not... Basically, majority of places that you might own the Frostmarch, if you already own it for Classic, you'll be able to get the remastered version in 5th edition by just syncing across your purchase. Just like a load of people have done with the Reaper. Release date. So, this is very exciting news. I'm also going to start playing because otherwise I will sit here and just talk to you all for ages. But release date. So, the release date is something that normally I have a hard time actually talking about because of a number of different things. Also, I need to resize this because I was busy chatting and wasn't busy looking at what I should be doing. We run a professional ship here on the Nomad Games stream. So, release date. The release date for Frostmarch Classic is going to be April 16th. So, April 16th, we will launch it on Steam. Like I said, if you already own the original Frostmarch and you're already signed into your Nomad account, it will just pop up in 5th edition. You'll be able to play with it. You'll be able to use all the cards in the deck editor. You'll be able to share it online. All that cool stuff is going to be coming. Normally it's very difficult to pin down a release date for these kind of things. Oh yes, I had a Reaper game set up. I don't quite like the wizard, but who do I want to play as? Let's play as the Dark Cultist. I prefer the Dark Cultist over the wizard. Yes, we've got the Streamer Cool custom deck enabled. Choose characters, change fate. Let's put some Diatoad on. Put some Fatality on. We still want the Grim Reaper because the Grim Reaper is cool. Yeah, let's do that. Will Frostmarch get a physical release or just digital? So it will be a just purely digital release at the moment. So what we've done, for anyone that doesn't know, is we've taken those old 4th edition expansions that were in Talisman Classic, and we've made a digital remaster that fits with all the 5th edition rules. So we did that with Reaper, we're going to do it with Frostmarch, but this is something that we are doing on our own backs as a studio digitally. So as far as I'm aware, obviously we've got a very good relationship with Games Workshop. We talk to them all the time. We've got a good relationship with Hasbro and Avalon Hill. As far as I'm aware, the re-releases that we're doing, so the 5th edition versions of those classic expansions, are digital exclusive. That might change in the future. Who knows? Not me. If I did, I'd tell you, unless I was legally not allowed to tell you, in which case I wouldn't be able to tell you. But it is going to be a digital-only thing for the immediate future. So if you want to play the Reaper with all the shiny new 5th edition artwork, all the effort that we've put into making it look really cool, bringing that classic expansion into what matches with the rest of 5th edition, right now, digital 5th edition is the only way you'll be able to do that. Obviously, Talisman has a big homebrew scene, people printing off their own custom things. I've not actually seen if anyone's done a full 5th edition print of the Reaper Classic yet, but I'm sure that will happen. But in terms of like actual official endorsed versions of those classic expansions in 5th edition, digital 5th edition is the only way you can do that. I am also getting sirened, so I'm going to skip my next turn, so that's fine. This version of the music I haven't listened to for 3,000 hours yet. Yeah, so we probably will end up putting some extra music choices in eventually, because anyone that's played Classic Edition knows that eventually the music does drive you insane, like fully insane. Will the Toadify spell have a 1 in 3 chance of the recipient being able to be unaffected by the spell, similar to Acquisition and Mesmerism? Or will it be the normal result as in Classic Edition? So I don't know that off the top of my head. I know that we, similar to how we did with the Reaper, we've basically made a list of all the cards, all the characters, everything in that original 4th edition expansion, and looked at how we want to make sure that all of those cards align with the 5th edition rules. So like there's cards that don't really have as much impact because of some changes in the 5th edition rules. There's cards that have been nerfed because Fate is a little bit easier to get, and being able to pay Fate to move is nowhere near as powerful because it's just an ability everyone has. So I'm not 100% sure whether a Toadify will be changed, because obviously those cards that are similar got changed in 5th edition, but I can check, and I can make sure that's highlighted in the previews that we're going to be doing over the next month as well. Magic Stream. Magic Stream, just like what's happening right now. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I don't know why I couldn't resist. The main reason I usually play with Frostmarch is for the extra Warlock quests, and so they get randomly drawn, but I feel random draw should be the default for Warlock quest anyway, or at least an option. Yeah, so as far as I know, we are going to have the house rule where you can randomly draw the randomly drawn, or be able to choose them. An interesting thing that we have come across with the Warlock quests specifically is that with the deck editor that we now have in 5th edition, you can now customize that Warlock quest deck. So say you have a game where you want to set up where you're like, oh, I only want people to be able to get talismans from doing these very specific actions, something that you could never do in Classic Edition, you can now do in 5th edition. So we're really looking forward to seeing like how people customize Warlock quests and like give players more options. Because correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat, I'm sure you will correct me if I'm wrong. But when you have the Warlock quest set up in Classic or 4th edition, it's 6 different ones you can choose from, if I'm remembering correctly. But yes, being able to customize the Warlock quests and customize them more thanks to the Frostmarch is going to be very cool. So, can we at least have some new character? So, good question, and something that I can't quite talk about yet. I can still talk about it a little bit, because I get to choose what we do and don't talk about. But as we speak, we do have some extra characters in the works to bring into 5th edition. It's a mixture of the standalone characters that we had in 4th edition, and then some cool bonus stuff. I'll share more information about that when we're ready to share information about that. But yes, if you are looking for more characters, not necessarily just expansion characters, we are working on that as we speak. We're hoping to have something to show about that fairly soon, and it will work the same way that expansion syncing works. So say you already own one of the individual characters on Steam. Let's move you there. Oh, I should have moved him onto... This is my issue. I always pay too much attention to talking and not enough attention to the game. Anyone that's tuned into these streams long enough knows that's always my issue. But yes, if you own those original characters, the syncing process will work exactly the same as it does with expansions. You just need to sign into your Nomad account, and then you'll be able to access those characters in-game. Like I said, we're also going to be including some fun bonus stuff. So keep an eye out for that. But yes, if you want more characters, can confirm. I think this is the first time I've actually talked about it publicly. But I can confirm there are more characters on the way. They are actively being worked on. I think there's 6? Yes. No. I think there's 5. See, I've not started thinking about that yet because I'm too busy talking about Frostmarch and sales and stuff. But yes, stay tuned. I will talk about that in the future. So yes, very exciting. In basic game, you roll die against the table, but reproduce the cards, which were normally shuffled and drawn randomly, but in digital you get to choose from them all. They should at least get a random option. Fair. I will pass that on to the rest of the team, because I think adding that as a house rule, especially when we add Frostmarch, makes sense. I always thought it would be great to do some kind of toad character. Sometimes being turned into a toad would be fun. I think a toady character to start with and play Talisman would be awesome. Always thought that. Yeah, that's 5th edition. I think leans more into the toading part of it, especially with the expansions that are coming up. So expect more toad things in the future. Here's a silly question about the card art. Would you guys at Nomad Guys consider adding an option to allow players to use custom art for some or all of the cards? Good question, Theo. So I can answer that. Yeah, I can answer that super easily. Would we consider it? Yes. Would it be feasible? No. And it's not that we'd have any technical issues with adding that kind of feature. It's not that we'd have any sort of like, oh, it's difficult to do. Because speaking as a not coder, I imagine that would be fairly easy to do, I think. But what we would have is, this is still a licensed game. Like, take everything else out, it is still a licensed game. So if it was our own IP and we were doing our own thing with it, we probably wouldn't be that bothered. Like, we'd go, oh well, people are just going to do what they want to do. But because this is a licensed product, there are restrictions on what we can and can't do. So like, if you wanted to make all the card art replaced by Star Wars things. Suddenly someone sees that there's the Talisman IP that's owned by someone else, and it's got Star Wars in it. Obviously that's probably not the best example because there is a Star Wars Talisman physically. But I'm just using it as an example. Allowing you to put in your own custom card art basically is too messy from a IP ownership licensing point of view. So we wouldn't be able to do that. So yes, we would consider it, but the actual reality of doing it would be very different. So that was one classic name. Can make sharing that art problematic. Yeah, it's true. Like, I think there's a lot of ways you can get around it in other games. Like, I don't know how IP ownership and licenses work with something like custom games in Fortnite and things like that. But for us as a small studio with like a very limited legal resource, trying to figure out how to do that it'd just be too much for us to handle. Yes, it could be abused. Like anything where you allow people to customize things. I'm sure I don't need to tell you all in chat the ways that could be used for nefarious purposes. Alright, my turn. Let's roll a dice. 6. And it is a 6, even though it's got the talisman symbol. Is still a 6. Could go to... That seems a bit boring Seems a bit boring. Let's go to Mystic. 6. I'll gain a spell. I'll take that. I'll take a spicy destruction spell. But yes, I want to know, because I've got quite a few people in the chat, what you all think about Frostmarch Classic. Because obviously we announced it the other day. Showed off some of the new artwork. Still got the character art to show off, which all looks very cool. But we're hoping that this will just add more and more to the game. Because obviously the eventual goal is to just keep remastering those 4th edition expansions. I had someone in the Steam comments talking about like, oh, what was the reasoning behind bringing Frostmarch out of all the expansions? And I can talk to that a little bit. Because basically, when we originally said, okay, we're going to remaster these 4th edition expansions, we had a number of different things that we wanted to rank them on in terms of, you know, how much people use them in games, how difficult it would be to bring it up to speed with the 5th edition look and feel. What was I going to say? Yeah, so basically there was a load of different factors that we were looking at, and I think Frostmarch is one of the expansions, similar to Reaper, where we know that it adds a lot to the base game. We know that the extra cards that it adds really help to fill out the basic adventure deck. So it's more of a... What's the phrase we used? It was more of a workhorse expansion than a flashy expansion, in that there's a lot of things that behind the scenes, when you add the Frostmarch to your Talisman game, don't immediately make a big impact in terms of, oh my god, there's like this new mechanic, there's crafting, there's dragon kings all over the place, there's ancient beasts. Like, it doesn't make that immediate impact, but in terms of how it helps smooth out the game, how it helps to make the game more interesting, Frostmarch is top of one of those. So it's a good one to bring in early. Yeah, I think it's the Warlock quests, and then just the extra options that it gives to players. Because that's the thing, is something that we need to think about for 5th edition that we never thought about for Classic is the fact that having the deck editor in 5th edition fundamentally has to change how we think about expansions, because it's not just, oh, we're adding 1 copy of this card if you enable the Frostmarch. You will be fully able to look at the Frostmarch and say, okay, cool, it has all of these extra cards, I want that one, and that one, and nothing else. Like, just giving players the ability to add a handful of cards if that's what they want. Cards that interact with stuff from the Reaper and the base game. I think it's going to make, just as we add more and more stuff, the amount of crazy custom decks that people are going to start making is just going to get out of hand, and I'm all here for it, to be honest. Alright, Reaper. Let's move you to the crags. Alright, so where's the knight going to be heading off to? Looking forward to it. Know some people just for 5th edition on sale now, more things coming out. Yeah, so I think this is something we've obviously talked about quite a bit internally, and I've talked quite a bit either on streams or social media or things like that, which is, we know that as time goes on and we add more classic expansions, we add things like alliances, and we continue working on the game, there's going to be people who looked at just the base game and said, you know what, I think with just the base game it's still appealing, but I'm so used to playing with like 10 plus expansions that just the base game doesn't feel like Talisman to me anymore. Which is fair. Like, we know that there's a lot of people like that. But what we've seen, especially with the Reaper, and especially since announcing the Frostmarch, is that there is just going to hit certain points where there's enough classic expansions, there's enough stuff in there that they go, okay, cool, I'm ready to make the jump to 5th edition. I want to see all the effort, all the time, all of the cool stuff that is now in 5th edition that wasn't in 4th edition. So like every time we have a sale, when we announce new classic expansions, obviously I've got access to like the Steam backend and stuff like that. So like we can see, all right, here's the steady amount that 5th edition is selling. Here's how well 5th edition is doing. And then it's like, okay, the Reaper's out, that's gone up. Frostmarch announced, that's gone up. So, as we add more and more stuff, like, people are going to start coming more and more to 5th edition. And we're absolutely looking at 5th edition as, you know, this is the place for Talisman digitally. This is where the future of Talisman is. This is, you know, we supported Classic Edition for 11 years. Still support it, by the way, before anyone takes that out of context. Like, we spent 11 years working on Classic Edition, then Digital Edition. And one of the things that we really realised, like, a few years in, is that when we originally made Classic Edition, we thought we'd just make it and move on to the next game. We didn't think, okay, this is a game that we're going to support for 11 years. And because of that, there were all sorts of issues, there's all sorts of problems, legacy code became a huge thing, all sorts of issues. And for us, that's why with 5th edition, we stripped everything back and made it so that, you know, this is the game that we can support for the next 11, 20 years. This is where we want to have Talisman be digitally. Like I said, once we bring out over all those 4th edition expansions, once we bring out all the extra cool stuff that we're planning, we want this to be the place to be. Warlock's Cave. I'll go there. So when are we getting 5th edition? So that is a question for Games Workshop. Oh yes, I changed the quests, so now it is just defeat one enemy, and that's the only thing in there. I forgot I'd customised the deck. So yeah, 6th edition. Unless you have a crystal ball, best thing to do is ask Hasbro and Games Workshop. I've not seen anything to do with a 6th edition. I imagine the physical side is having the exact same thought process that we are, where it's going, okay, this is something that we want to support for a long time. We want to make it so that this is something that we can build upon. But what I would say is not that we've accounted for it, but one of the things that we got frustrated with Classic Edition was originally we were looking at, okay, what would the process be like to just make Classic 5th Edition, like update that game, and it just wasn't possible. Like from a tech point of view, from a actually making it work point of view, it just wasn't possible. But the way that we've designed Digital 5th Edition, which I'm playing now for anyone that doesn't know, if Talisman 6th Edition comes out, and Talisman 6th Edition is a complete overhaul, or it's very similar, however they decide to do it, it wouldn't be that we'd go, okay, let's make Talisman Digital 6th Edition, it's a separate game. It would be, okay, 6th edition rules, 6th edition play is an option in 5th edition digital. However, we'd make that work, and you can play 5th edition. Like, we'd make it so that everything works together, just like we're doing with all the 4th edition expansions, bringing that into 5th edition. We want this to be the place for Talisman, whether that's 4th edition, 5th edition, 20th edition, however it is. This is where we want it to be. So yes, that's my answer for when you're getting 6th edition. Who knows? But hopefully that answers what 6th edition would mean for us as a digital studio. I'll get into Fate, yeah, why not? Any chance you can add the Timescape expansion from 2nd edition? Yes. I know that Timescape comes up a lot, but is there any chance that we could do it? Yes. How likely do I think that we'd do it? Depends on what those lovely chaps at Games Workshop say. But we know there's a demand for it. Whether it would be a straight port or a similar to how we've got the remastered Classic expansions, whether it be a 5th edition version of Timescape, that would depend on how it all shakes out. But I can say there is a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. And there's always been a chance, but I think with how we've set up 5th edition, there's now more of a chance than ever. So will you be doing something similar where you buy the game once and you get the expansions on all platforms? I bought a pack that gave me the game and all expansions on Android. Yes, Sir Red MD, good question, and one that I'm happy to answer. For anyone that doesn't know, basically, as long as you sign into your Nomad account, certain platform restrictions apply. If you own an expansion or a piece of content on one platform, you can just copy it over. You can sync it over to the other platform. So like if you own everything on Android, you can play it on PC without having to buy it again. We are going to keep that system in place for 5th edition. So when eventually we make 5th edition versions for mobile, we will keep that system in place. So like you own 5th edition on Steam, and you have the Reaper and Frostmarch and Alliances when that comes out, and then you buy 5th edition on Android, same system will apply, connect your Nomad account and it'll sync across. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time making sure that system works, and we know that it's something that players really appreciate. So we have absolutely zero plans of removing that system in 5th edition. It is a thread I maybe shouldn't pull on, but is updating the 4th edition expansions to 5th financially worthwhile for Nomad? It's a lot of effort for a game many people will be getting for free. Not that we're complaining, it's a really cool thing that Nomad is doing and we love you for it. Updating the 4th edition expansion to 5th financially worthwhile for Nomad. One of the things that I've always said is I always want to be as transparent as possible with you guys, because you guys put a lot of trust in us by trusting that we're going to treat Talisman right, and I want to return that by being open and honest when I can. So when it comes to updating those classic expansions to 5th edition, one of the things that we have actually discussed internally recently is the fact that basically the Reaper Classic took longer to port over than we initially expected. We thought it would take a while, but it basically got to a point where we were like, oh, actually this is taking quite a while to get to where we want it to be, and actually get it out. So there was a point recently where we were like, maybe bringing over these classic expansions isn't as feasible from a financial point of view as we initially thought. Maybe there's issues here. Thankfully, what we found out was that many of the reasons why the Reaper took longer than we expected was because there was quite a few hurdles to overcome, because it was the first time we'd added a expansion to 5th edition. So while the Reaper wasn't what I would call financially worthwhile to add to 5th edition, the work that we've put into the Reaper and how that's speeding up the future expansions, like we're launching Frostmarch in less than a month, which is way faster than we thought we'd ever release it. We're already working on the expansion after Frostmarch, which I can't tell you what it is just yet. But basically one of the things that we took into account when we were thinking, okay, doing this for free, giving people those old expansions without asking for an extra charge to sync it across. We got our start with Talisman Digital Edition. People buying expansions, people buying content for Classic Edition is the reason that we're here today as a studio. And I think being in a position where we can turn around and say, okay, we should honour that, and we should say thanks to everyone that supported that older version of Talisman. If there's a way that we can do that, we should do it. Even if it means that the time that we put into that in terms of development cost breaks even for us, I'm fine with that. That's fine by me, because you guys have already given us the money for the Reaper, Frostmarch, all those classic expansions. You've invested that money into us as a studio and Talisman as a game. So us saying thanks for doing that by remastering those classic expansions for free, I think it's still the right thing to do. And like I said earlier in the stream, it's one of those things where we suspected this would happen, but it's nice to see that it actually is happening. As more and more classic expansions get added to digital 5th edition, the value proposition just keeps going up, right? There's people who would look at just the base game and say, I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready to dive in just yet on just the base game. Yes, I want to support you guys, but is that worth it to me? as we add more and more of those expansions for previous players, it becomes more and more appealing to those players, and like there's more people that are going to make that jump to 5th edition. Because we know that Classic has such a huge audience that everyone's going to have a different point where they're like, oh, it now has my favourite expansion in. Oh, it now has enough expansions in that it feels like Talisman should to me. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that yes, it is worthwhile us doing from a financial point of view, but not necessarily just from a, oh, making these classic expansions in 5th edition will get us more money. Like, it's more nuanced than that. But good question. Perhaps not Talisman related, but are there any other board games you like to play over at Nomad? Betrayal at House on the Hill, my personal favourite. We've been playing a lot of Hero Quest. We got a copy of that into the office recently, and that's been going down really well. People really like Hero Quest here at Nomad. I know that there's quite a few Hero Quest fans in the regular watchers. So yeah, Hero Quest is probably what I would give as the answer. Timescape could be added to Classic now that's otherwise finished. So the issue with adding Timescape to Classic, which is an issue with adding anything to Classic, to be honest, is say we looked at how long it would take to make a 5th edition version of Timescape. So that'd be actually programming it, that'd be doing the artwork for it, going through the approval process, making sure that all of the license owners are happy with it, and it's up to the standard that they want that IP to be represented, right? Doing it in Classic means that it has to both fit the 4th edition art style, which is difficult because 4th edition has a very specific art style that obviously 5th edition has tried to not move away from, but 5th edition has a much more fresh look. Like, it feels more modern fantasy. I know there's people who debate whether or not 5th or 4th edition art style are better, but 5th edition is where Games Workshop, Hasbro, Avalon Hill, that's where they want it to go in terms of the way that it looks. So making new Talisman content, because that's what it'd be even if it was a remake, but making it so that it looks like 4th edition would be a tougher sell than making 5th edition versions. From a technical, so that's it from like a art getting it approved point of view. From a technical point of view, adding things to Classic takes 4 times, 5 times longer than it does adding it to 5th edition. Like, it's so hard for me to actually explain like how much, not gunk is not the right technical word, absolutely not the right technical word, but it's what comes to mind, because there's so many things in Classic that as soon as you start trying to add new features, add a new expansion, even add basic stuff, the game just can't handle it very well. It takes ages to figure out what's going wrong, what's conflicting with what, and it just turns into a nightmare. Adding it something to 5th edition, much easier. We've designed 5th edition with that in mind, that adding new stuff is a much smoother process. So yes, Timescape could be added to Classic. It could also be added to 5th edition. Which one would we rather do? Which one would make more sense? Which one would give a better experience for absolutely everyone? Would be a 5th edition version. I also love how only one person needs the DLCs on the table to make them playable. Doesn't need to be host either. Yes, that is something that we're carrying on with 5th edition. Because we know that's something that people have always appreciated about Talisman. And we don't see a reason to stop doing that. So, yeah. Also, I'm doing terribly. If anyone's looking at this for how to get better at Talisman, please don't use me as a reference point, because I am doing absolutely awfully. Talisman VR on Quest. It'd be cool. Do we have the resources, and would the audience be there to justify it from a financial point of view? No. That's the brutal, honest answer, and that's just the truth of it. So, yes, Talisman VR on Quest, Dr. Red MD would be cool, but yeah, sadly, it would just be too niche, and it would take time away from our small team when we've got such other bigger things to be focusing on. More people only on 5th should make a bit of coin for them buying the 4th edition expansion for 5th, as it's something the DU will have over the physical game. No expenditure to receive this expansion for free. I thought it was incredibly generous. Yes, so, like I said, we are going to keep on. If you own those classic expansions, however you've got them, whether you've got them through Humble Bundle, whether you've purchased them on Steam, mobile, you own those classic expansions, you get the remastered one for free. I know that when I was originally talking about doing this stream, I was talking about how we could talk about alliances a bit as well. And something that I can talk about a little bit is alliances. So we are in the early stages of development for the Alliances expansion. Alliances will be a paid expansion, just getting that out there ahead of time, because I know obviously with us setting the standard with bringing over those classic expansions for free, some people have asked, will Alliances be a paid expansion? Will it be just included in 5th edition? It will be a paid expansion. We've not quite figured out exactly how much, but yes, we have started development on Alliances. I'm going to be going into the Nomad office tomorrow to play it physically, because I want to get a bit more to grips with everything that's going on in Alliances. But yes, Alliances is on the way. Stay tuned to all of our socials, all of the cool places that we are online, to see more of Alliances in the near future. But yes, we're very excited. We've already got quite a lot of stuff that we're working on for it, and I think having a dedicated co-op experience is going to add a lot to the game. So, sorry, I was taking a shed down. That's right, Talisman Island, you're forgiven. You are absolutely forgiven. What have we got here? A Wraith. Let's go to the Oasis. Let's have some fun in the Oasis. I know some people are waiting to buy 5th when more expansions are in, so they're still waiting. Should have waited enough to. Some have waited enough to make the jump. Yeah, I think there's definitely people that feel like they've got to a point where they're like, oh, cool, this isn't also. This is going to go terribly. I only have 2 life as well. I should pay more attention to what I'm doing. Ow. Pain. Hero Quest DE when? Hey, if you want it, go tell Hasbro. Go tell them that there's these cool guys called Nomad Games, and we'd really like them to make Hero Quest digitally. That's the best way you can help us. God, I love Mansion on the Hill. Perfect match for Lovecraft and D&D. Mansion Man is also good. With new characters and new things that will be added to 5th, will they also go into 4th or 5th exclusive? So they will be 5th exclusive. So we're not planning on making a 4th edition version of Alliances. And anything that we make going forwards that wasn't in 4th edition for 5th edition, we're not going to be backporting to Classic. I talked a little bit a few minutes ago about all of the reasons why it's super difficult for us to go back to Classic, from both a willingness to do it, as a licensed product and a technical point of view. But yeah, basically, we're not planning on going back to 4th edition for many things. Like we're planning on adding some house rules and some extra little things like that, but nothing that's new characters and shiny new things. It just takes too long when we need to be focusing on 5th edition. Like, this is where the future of Talisman is. So I posted that before you said it might possibly happen 5th, which I won't hold my breath for, but it's still exciting that hasn't been instantly dismissed. Or is the engine that is on as well, or what? Dark Legion mate, what are you asking? Because I'm trying to catch up with chat, so I'm not 100% sure. To answer your question, which I think you're asking, yes, Classic Edition and 5th Edition run on the same engine. However, when we were designing 5th Edition, we stripped back that original ending, that original engine, to the absolute bare bones, using all of the stuff that we've learned over the past 11 years to make it so that in the future we're not going to code ourselves into a corner, basically. And one of the things that we actually did do, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, is when we were originally putting forward, like, okay, here's how we want to do 5th edition, we did actually try making 5th edition in some different game engines. So like there's a very, very, very rough early versions of 5th edition in Unreal and Unity, lurking around on the Nomad Games servers, which we can't show anyone because it's rough as hell. But it wasn't that we were just like, oh, we'll just stick with the engine because it is easier. Like, we actively tried other engines to see what would work best for us as a development team, and for you guys as players, and stripping it back completely like we did ended up being the best option, so that's what we went with. I'm looking forward to some characters being ported over from Classic, especially looking forward to alliances. That will be an awesome use of the digital medium for sorting decks and trials. Yes, I think having the deck editor with alliances is going to be super interesting because you can just customize it way more than you'll be able to in physical. So, Telpy69, hey man, just dropped by to say good work on the new expansion. First of all, thanks. I'll pass that on to the rest of the team. And I'm impressed you announced Frost release so soon. Yes, so I said it earlier in the stream, but I'll just mention it again because I like saying the same thing twice. But one of the reasons that we took longer with the Reaper is because there was a lot of features that we needed to go over for the first time, and a lot of processes that we needed to go over for the first time when it came to bringing those classic expansions into 5th edition. So whereas the Reaper did take quite a while, and obviously it's in now, everyone's happy about it, going forward, the cadence at which we will be releasing those remastered classic expansions will be faster. So like I said, we're already working on the expansion that is going to be coming, the new remastered expansion that is coming after Frostmarch. So yeah, we're really excited to announce it. I'm going to be announcing a new batch of remastered characters as well fairly soon, so keep an eye out for that. Never played against the famous Tom. I need new victims. Yeah, I think if you're playing with me on stream, then I think you'll be able to take me on fairly easily. Like I said, I feel like I always do Talisman a disservice when I play on stream because I'm half focusing on talking to you guys and then half focusing on playing the game. So meaning Talisman IRL board game among the Nomad co-workers for work purposes. Yes. Literally, we do play Talisman here at Nomad, like the physical game, for work purposes, because, you know, there's a very different thing of like reading the Alliance's rulebook and actually playing through Alliances, right? Like, it's, you want to see what the experience is like, actually. So yeah, we do play Talisman. Even bug updates, etc. Yeah, so bug updates, we are still gonna, when we can, try and roll out bug updates and fixes for Classic Edition. Ideally, we want to get it into a state where it is working as it should, and as best as it can, given that it is built on 11 years of legacy code. But yes, we will probably roll out small updates for Classic still in the future, as and when we can. The engine is for the engine 4th edition version, so you are saying it's hard to do updates. Yes, yes. So the reason that it's hard to do updates, and the reason that I mentioned that it's hard to do updates, is, say, I think it's an analogy that I've used before, but it's an analogy that I can use again. Say you are building a house, right? And when you are initially building the house, you build it on very loose ground because you're like, oh well, it doesn't really matter, like, as long as the house is up, or baking a cake. Baking a cake is a good example. Yeah, if you're building a house and you build it on loose ground that is going to be shifting and isn't very stable, yes, you can build your house, but if you want to start making additions to it, if you want to start redesigning it, if you want to add an extra floor, if you want to do anything, because you've built it on such shaky foundations, as soon as you start adding new stuff, parts of the house that you didn't think would be affected start sinking into the ground. You pull on a pipe to try and improve the water flow, and all of a sudden a pipe on the other side of the house bursts, and you don't know why. You just know every time you do it, something terrible happens. Also, that was a terrible... I was busy making an analogy and I died. Again, this is why I shouldn't stream, talk while I stream. But also, if I didn't talk while I stream, that would be weird for you all. So, yes, basically, if Talisman Classic Edition is that house that was built on shaky foundations, like, in order to fix a leaky roof, like, you need to make sure that the roof itself isn't going to collapse when you make that fix. You need to make sure that doing all of the work that you need to do in the kitchen isn't going to make the floor in the kitchen fall through. That's what's going to cause you issues. And because Classic Edition was built on that shaky foundation, patches, doing updates, adding new expansions has always been hard. It's always been a sticking point for us, and it's always been something that we really struggle with. So when it came to digital 5th edition, we already had the layout. Oh, I'm a monk now, cool. I've not actually seen these. That's quite cool. Because I've not actually been reborn in a Talisman game up until now. Let's go to the forest. Lose a life for my troubles. Yeah, so basically, when it came to 5th edition, we said, okay, one of our biggest issues was that we built Classic Edition on such a shaky foundation. The actual layout of Classic, the way that we designed it, the way that we'd, originally planned it out, and set everything out from a coding point of view, from a design point of view. Still great. Doesn't help if you are building it on shaky ground. So we said, okay, let's rip everything out, change the foundations, make it so that 5th edition is built on a solid base that we can work from a design and a coding point of view, because we know that framework works. There's no point in getting rid of the framework because the framework doesn't have any issues. It's the foundation that has issues. Yeah, we worked on it for a long time. Finally got to a point where we were happy with it, and we're still very happy with it because, like I said, the process. Because obviously we've worked on Talisman for 11 plus years. So one of the things that we have a direct comparison for is we know what it was like to add the original Reaper to Classic Edition. We know what it's like to turn around and say, okay, we need to add the Reaper. What's that process like? Comparing what it was like adding a new expansion to Classic to what it was like adding a new expansion to 5th edition, it's absolute night and day. And because we're spending less time, trying to make Classic work, it means we got more time to bring you guys more content, more fun stuff, keep improving the game. Also, I still have the very last remnants of a cold, so apologies if I sound a bit bunged up. But yeah, basically, same engine, new foundation, much better in the long term for both us and you guys as players. I'm not the only one that died. Success. I don't like some 5th edition rules, but still a great game. I love the artwork, and I think Nomad did a great job doing that and putting the Reaper in as well. Thank you, Shrub. We are looking at adding more house rules in the future to 5th edition. Because we know that there's people that have played Talisman 4th edition for so long, there's no way they're ever going to turn around and go, oh, I love all the 5th edition rules. Like, you've played the original for so long, it feels wrong to not play with those rules. So we are planning on adding some extra house rules to give players the option to bring it more in line with the 4th edition experience. So does that mean 10 years time, 5th edition should still be strong enough to build on if it's still going? And I really hope so. Yes, absolutely. That's literally one of the reasons that we went in as we did to 5th edition. We wanted it to be strong enough that in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we can still be adding new content to it. Keep up the great work, Tom. And Nomad, I have to fly, but we'll catch you all again soon. Thanks for tuning in, Glenn. Massively appreciate it. 5th edition looks so good. Our art team have put in so much effort into making 5th edition feel like a new, shiny experience. I try and shout them out every single stream, but they do not get enough credit. They've done a really, really good job. And also the guys at Hasbro Games Workshop who did the physical game, they've also done a really, really good job. So yes, very happy with how 5th edition looks. I'm one of those people, but still love the game. It's just different and takes a little to get used to. It's still enjoyable to play though and refreshing in a way. It might be same game, but it's a different game. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that's what they were always trying to do with the physical version of 5th edition, and I think that's what we've tried to recreate. Like, we know people aren't coming to 5th edition, especially if they've played older versions of Talisman. They still want it to feel like Talisman, right? Like, you still want it to feel like the Talisman experience. A ghost. Let's take on a ghost. Not my best. Yeah, people still want that Talisman experience, and I think that's something that they were able to refresh but still keep in the physical game. And obviously I'm biased because I work for Nomad. But from what I've seen from community comments, which are not biased because they're just people in the community, I think we've managed to make it still feel like that Talisman Digital Edition experience while being fresh at the same time. Like, it's not like you're going to pick it up and go, this doesn't feel like Talisman. It still feels like Talisman because that's what we know people want. You know, like, what's the point in giving people what they don't want? Speaking of 5th edition so far, what do you think of the physical version of it? I really like it. I really do like the physical 5th edition. I think it was... Saying it was overdue an update seems a bit harsh, but I think the changes that it made and the quality of the 5th edition build physically, I really appreciate. So, yeah, that is my thoughts. Obviously, I'm a lot more focused on the digital version, but I do think the physical version and the expansions that they're bringing out for it are really cool. I think they're going in a really interesting direction with alliances, and then the next expansion after alliances, which I can't talk about because I'm representing a studio right now, but if anyone's seen anything about the new expansion that they might have seen, I think it looks really cool, and I think the direction that they're taking the physical game with expansions is really interesting. So, yeah, I do really like the physical version. I think they've done a really good job of it. Nemesis, never heard of her. Right, so before I start breaking any NDAs, I'm going to start winding down the stream because I've already died once, so I don't really fancy dying again. But as a reminder, the game that I am playing right now, Talisman Digital 5th Edition, is currently on sale in the Steam Spring Sale. So if you haven't picked it up, you can pick it up now. It's currently on discount, so it's a great time to get in. We've literally just announced our next remastered classic expansion, the Frostmarch, which is already on the way. Less than a month until that comes out, which is really exciting. Like I said, if you own it in Classic, whether that be on mobile, whether that be on Steam, GOG, you can purchase Digital 5th Edition and sync across that original purchase, and you'll get the remastered version at no additional cost. And yeah, we've got an awesome community over on our Discord, which you should join because they're very cool. You should follow us on all the places that we are online. I'm an absolute fool. I'm an absolute fool. When I was originally promoting this stream, I talked about giving away Steam keys, and I just completely forgot. Apologies to anyone that has come in earlier and has now left. That's my ADHD brain completely forgetting about it. I'm going to go grab some Steam keys. I'm absolutely going to go to grab some Steam keys. I'm going to go into the little treasure trove of keys that we have, speaking of freebies good. And I'm going to hand out some Steam keys for people that have tuned in to watch. I'm going to blame my own brain for forgetting that I promised to do that. But it's better to remember now rather than remembering bot is nowhere to be found. Yeah, I haven't used the bots for a while. I've tried to sort it out before the stream started, but it's I need to properly sort that out. I've been neglecting our poor bots. Let's get open hours. All right. So, because I don't have a bot to do the work for me, I'm going to go through the previous chats, because if you're cool enough to leave a message in the chat, then you're cool enough to get a Steam key. And I'm going to write down all the people who are chatting, and then I'm going to number them, and then I am going to randomly choose which number to give Talisman Digital 5th Edition keys to. Because we run a professional ship here at Nomad Games. Poke me and I'll get you sorted. Yeah, I think we'll definitely get the bots sorted. I've been scrambling around trying to get everything ready for this stream, so I did not have the time or the chance that I wanted to get that sorted. Oh yeah, I'll go Ferryman. I like the artwork for the Ferryman. The Ferryman's very cool. Thank goodness you have the company pen this week. So I tuned it just in time for the giveaway. Yes, anyone that wants to take part in the giveaway, anyone that wants to be in with a chance to get a digital copy of 5th edition, throw your messages in the chat, because I'm going to be going through and making a list of all the cool people that are in our chat, and then I'll be deciding who is cool enough to get a key. Yeah, I'm very glad that I remembered, because if I have it, can I still get a key from my friend? Absolutely. I will just flat out send you a Steam key. You don't have to prove that you've redeemed it on your own account. If you want to send it to your mother, if you want to send it to a family friend, if you want to send it to your local vicar, whoever you want to send it to, that's fine. So yes, no rules about whether you can or can't send it to a friend. And thanks again for everyone who has tuned in, because I think doing these streams is one of the easiest ways for us to get across. Like, I spend a lot of time obviously marketing stuff and talking to you guys, whether that be on socials, whether that be any of the other places that we are online. But I think having a direct line to you guys is something I really appreciate being able to do. So, all right. I will also add Glenn, even though he's exited the stream. I will also add him to the list of people that I'm going to be messaging. So, right. Also, apologies for anyone that's tuned in and is watching this very exciting part of the stream, where I just write things down that you can't see. Very, very thrilling. I think you'll all agree. Mayonnaise. Masterson. I think that's Dr. Red. Alright, I think that is, and Theo. I think that is everyone who's been cool enough to chat that I can go back and see. Let me see if anyone else has said anything cool. Thanks for the demo explaining your challenges. Looking forward to that Timescape expansion. Played a game with Glenn. He's brutal. Made me lose 3 lives when I had 3 lives in 1 turn. Right, I believe I have everyone sorted. So I'm going to... How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right. Number chooser. max 13. So, first one, Shellsman. Shellsman. Congratulations, you are the first winner of a Talisman Digital 5th Edition Steam key that I can send to you at your earliest convenience. Let me know whether you want that on Discord, whether you want that on here on Twitch. Happy to send it however is easiest for you, Shellsman. More than happy to do that. So yes, everyone congratulate Shellsman, shout him out in the chat, and I will send you a key for the game however you want it to be sent to you. Alright, next potential winner. Let's do a small drum roll as I try and winner chicken dinner. Yes. Alright, I'm going to add Vornamir and Wedge. You weren't on my original list, but I will add you for the second roll. And Wedge, I will add you too. Alright, time for the second roll, and then I will be ending the stream. Alright, we've got number 9, which is... That is Talpy69. Talpy69, congratulations, you are our second winner. So, I will DM you on Twitch, it's probably the easiest way to do it. Let me see how I do that, because I currently have a manic setup. Twitch message, please preferred. Alright, let me open Twitch so I can do that now before I forget, because I will not remember to do that if I do not do that right now. So let me go onto the channel. Let me... Also, I realised I'm still recording. I can probably not record this bit. So if anyone that has been tuning in to watch the recording, thank you for sitting through the last 10 minutes of me faffing about trying to get this sorted. But thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the repeat of the recording if you're watching it on repeat. Alright, recording stopped. Let me do my admin. So, yes, Shellsman. Ooh, why is it not letting me? Alright. Shellsman. Whisper. Why isn't that? Maybe gets no keys, but is a winner in Tom's heart. It's true. Ah, interesting. I've actually just opened the chat with Shellsman, and I have given you a Steam key for something previously, all the way back in 2019. So it's been a while, but here is a fresh Talisman Digital 5th Edition Steam key for you to enjoy. Sync across all of your purchases and all of that good stuff. And then Talpy69. I will send you a message as well. Let's find you. And yes, thanks you everyone for tuning in to the stream. I massively appreciate it. Let me see if I can find you. Six years ago, I think that was when I tried to win something for my friend. Right, Talpy69, if you are still watching, please put something in the chat so I can find you easier. Massively appreciate you doing so. Right, let's see if I can find you on... Alright, I'm probably going to stop the stream at this point because then I don't have to think about finding someone and also talking at the same time. So, thank you everyone massively for tuning into the stream. Congratulations to both of our winners. And yeah, I will see you all